Alrighty, so Andy, who's someone else on YouTube, had actually commented on a couple videos of replacing an Acura MDX strut. He had commented there's a very, very simple way to do this without having to unbolt any of the joints. So you don't have to unbolt the ball joints, you don't have to unbolt the tie rods. You can kind of leave everything in place. You don't have to remove the axle nut, and we're going to try it using a jack and some wood. First thing we need to do is we need to loosen up the mounting for the strut mounts, and we're not going to undo them. We're just going to loosen them up so there's a little bit of play with the strut itself. So first thing we're going to do is loosen these up. But I'm going to loosen them so there's still about maybe 3 threads left on each one. Now I'm going to undo the pin for the strut itself. I want to be careful with this ABS sensor, kind of keep it out of the way. I'll probably end up unbolting the ABS sensor just so I can keep it over here. So removing the ABS sensor, this was just a 10 millimeter socket, and then you gotta carefully pry it out with a flathead, but just be careful not to break the sensor. And then I'm just gonna keep it safely out of the way because I am gonna be jacking this up with some 2x6s, and if one of them slips, it could easily break the ABS sensor. It's not like we can't get a new ABS sensor, but it would just be a pain in the butt. So now that I removed the bolt or pin holding the strut to the knuckle, it allows the strut to move up and it will allow the knuckle to move down independently. So we're using a scissor jack here, and there's a little bit of a slope where the scissor jack is being placed, so you kind of got to be careful here. You know, you can put a piece of wood, you probably, you know, and I may stop this video and make a shim to put here. I'm using, this is my old stabilizer bar that I had to cut off because that's a different video, I think. Okay, now I'm going to start separating these. I'll show in the video how you can see the strut actually moving. The strut is moving up while the knuckle is being pushed down. And ostensibly, I should be able to do this until the strut is completely out of the knuckle. And then I'm going to kind of push the strut away. One thing I have is this ABS line here that I don't love. So I'm probably going to end up removing that first. It's just a little bit pesky getting out. So I'm kind of pressing my luck here with the ABS line. If you watch any other video, people are removing the ABS line as fast as possible. Now this may start slipping on the bottom here, so I'm going to kind of want to hold this in place. If you can see all the travel from the strut basically being, and really, whoop, there we go. So I'll actually pull this out so we can actually see there's a little bit of travel on this, and if I can get a pry bar I can push it down. But what we want to do is we want to create a nice base here so that this isn't going to come out, and I am going to take out this ABS line because it's scaring me. I was able to carefully pry out, after you remove the 10 millimeter bolt, the ABS sensor. You want to like get this really out of the way here, because if anything slips and cuts it, that's a whole different video. So I cut a little triangle piece here that I think will kind of help keep this in place a little bit better. We'll find out. So my wife actually suggested taking the little triangle piece I made and putting a board on top, that ends up making it a pretty level platform. So this is working so far. And I can see a lot of separation, a lot of travel. And really, at this point, we're not pushing the strut up, right? We're not compressing the strut at all. All we're doing is we're pushing the control arm down with everything still attached to it. You know, I know some people are going to say maybe we should undo the axle nut. This axle is completely seized into the splines, so it would be like a 2-hour process to knock the splines free, knock the CV axle free. I have a tool to do that from Harbor Freight. I have the hydraulic puller tool, but the whole point of this is to try to kind of keep all the joints intact and still be able to remove this. We can take a look at it. If you can see, here's all the travel we have right here. If I can focus, we have a ton of travel and it's about to pop free. So I'll kind of try to keep the camera down there. We're really close to popping it free. Okay. So this is kind of dropped down now, but it's still holding. I just want it to spring back and hit me. Alright, we can stop. So when it does finally come out, it's going to kind of push the control arm over and get caught. So now we're going to kind of move the scissor jack over here, and I actually loosened up the strut mount bolts up top a little bit more. Get this out. It's almost out. Okay. So I'm putting a piece of wood underneath. I'm back with the scissor jack here. Hopefully we'll learn all these good lessons from my video on what not to do. Okay, so now we can start seeing the strut is kind of moving itself out, which is awesome. It's about to come out. So I'm going to probably hit this with a mallet at this point, just to get it out. Let's see if that works. Now I need a little bit more. Maybe I'll use the pry bar on the control arm. Yeah, let's do it. Done. Awesome. So we now have the strut out of the knuckle. We did not have to undo anything. I really didn't even have to undo the axle bolt. So I'll probably put that back on. And now we're just going to unbolt the strut and take it off and put the new one in. All right, so we put the new strut into the strut mounts loosely. So we have 3 bolts very loosely put in. I'm going to twist this now. Because remember, it rotates on the mount so that the brake line hanger is out of the way, because then we can always twist it back at the end. So right now, brake hanger's out of the way, and we can start putting this up. Now, this will fit into the knuckle only one way. There's a little notch in the back of the knuckle. There's a piece on the strut that fits into the notch. You can feel it right there. So once we get everything together, we can twist it so it falls into place, and I'll show you that. What I don't want to do is this will have a tendency to go like that. So I'm going to take another piece of wood and kind of wedge it up here. I learned that from the last time, right about there. So that when I start pushing this up, And again, I need a wheel chock on my floor jack because my floor jack wants to travel. Yep, my jack really wants to travel, so we gotta get good wheel chock support underneath it. Let's see how we doing here. Let's get this jack positioned securely first so that it's not moving back. Can I get this in here without... Yep. Careful. A little bit more when I get a pump. A little bit more. Okay, good. Okay. Let's give it a little bit more. It fell right in.
It did?
Yeah. Fell right in. Okay, so here we go. It literally fell right in at the right angle. Now I gotta twist this. See how there's a little gap? I gotta twist this forward till it finds the notch. You'll kind of feel it. There's the notch right there. There it is. Totally flush. I can put the bolt in. We did it. Took a few tries, but you kind of see what I did wrong. You gotta shimmy it. It's all about getting the jack positioned and stabilized in the right way. You don't want the strut mount bolts to be super loose, but you also don't want them to be tight. So just enough play that you can wiggle it around, not too much play that it's flapping in the breeze. So this is all put back together now. I know there's some people who are going to say this could ruin your CV joint, axle, ball joint, C-arm, and it could, but so far I did it on both sides and I think it worked pretty well. Saved me potentially hours of hassle getting all these joints apart. Tie rods, ball joints on the bottom. I mean, that one's a tough one down there.